The notification chimed on my phone, a cheerful little ding that felt like a physical blow. I was elbow deep in suds, scrubbing at the stubborn, crusted-on cheese from last night's macaroni and cheese battle. My daughter, Lily, was using a wooden spoon as a microphone, belting out a pop song with glorious 5-year-old abandon, while my son, Noah, traced the path of a soap bubble with a solemn finger. It was a standard issue Wednesday, a symphony of minor chaos. The air smelled of citrus detergent and the lingering ghost of broccoli. My husband, Mark, was on a work call in the next room, his voice a low, steady hum against the high-pitched soundtrack of our kitchen. The phone dinged again. I dried a hand on my jeans and tapped the screen. Family Fun Page, the heading read. My sister-in-law, Jessica, had posted an album, Bon Voyage Millers. The first photo was a panoramic shot of a cruise ship, a monstrous, beautiful beast of leisure, gleaming white against a cartoon blue sea. The next, my brother, David, and Jessica, holding luridly colored drinks with tiny umbrellas, grinning the tense, happy grins of people determined to have expensive fun. Then my 2 teenage nieces, sunglasses on, looking blissfully bored. Another of a buffet table longer than my living room, a shimmering mosaic of carved melons and tiered cakes. A familiar, sour knot tightened in my stomach. The social media scroll, a modern peculiarity where you simultaneously witness and measure your life against a curated highlight reel of others. Our mac and cheese versus their Caribbean cruise. My dishpan hands versus their sunset cocktails. I scrolled, the knot tightening, and then I saw it. A comment from my Aunt Carol, Mom's younger sister. Looks amazing. Wish I was there. Happy birthday to your mom today. Bet she's missing you all. The world tilted, just a fraction. The soap suds on my hands went cold. Happy birthday. A wave of heat, then cold, washed over me. I'd forgotten. No, not forgotten. It had been buried under the landslide of Wednesday. The permission slips, the grocery list, the broken shoelace, the scheduling of the plumber for the dripping faucet. It had been quietly smothered by the sheer, relentless volume of my own immediate life. My mother, today, 80 years old, and she was alone. The album had more photos. My brother had posted one from earlier in the week. Last visit before we sail, Mom stocked us up on her famous trail mix. There was Mom in her cozy, cluttered kitchen, a familiar, slightly forced smile on her face as she handed David a Ziploc bag. Her eyes, the same pale blue as mine, didn't quite match the smile. They held a quiet, resigned understanding. She knew the drill. The visit was a pit stop, a pre-vacation obligation. The real event was the cruise, the photos, the story to be told. And today, on the actual day of her birth, she would be sitting in her silent house. She would receive a phone call, probably from the cruise ship's satellite phone, a rushed, "Happy birthday, Mom, wish you were here," shouted over the sound of a steel drum band. She would say, "Oh, don't be silly, you have fun, I'm perfectly fine." And she would be, in the way that strong women who have weathered decades of disappointment learn to be. But she would not be celebrated. "Bubble," Noah proclaimed, holding up a quivering, iridescent sphere. "Beautiful, sweetie," I whispered, my voice thick. I saw her, not as she was in David's photo, but as she would be right now. It was 7 p.m. She would have eaten a small, sensible dinner, perhaps a single salmon fillet, a handful of green beans. She would have washed her one plate and fork, dried them, and put them away. The silence in her house would be a palpable thing, a heavy blanket. She might be in her armchair, the one with the faded floral print that remembered every contour of my father before he passed. The TV would be on for noise, some inane game show, but her reading glasses would be perched on her nose as she worked a crossword puzzle. A single lamp would pool light around her, leaving the rest of the room in soft gloom. On the mantel, the birthday card we'd sent, a week late, I remembered with another pang, was propped up, a bright, store-bought sentiment in the quiet. "Mark," I said, walking into the living room. He was mid-sentence on his call. "So if we can pivot the Q3 projections to—" He looked up, saw my face, and held up a 1-minute finger. I didn't have a minute. The image was burning inside me. "We have to go, now." He ended the call with a hurried, "I'll email you." He didn't ask why. He saw the sheen in my eyes, the set of my jaw. What's wrong? "It's my mom's birthday. She's alone. David's on the cruise. I forgot." The confession tumbled out, ugly and ashamed. Mark didn't sigh. He didn't glance at the mountain of unwashed pots or the homework waiting to be checked. He simply stood up. "Okay, what do we need?" That was it. That was the bedrock. In the chaos of our life, this was our quiet pact. We showed up. 15 minutes of beautiful, frantic pandemonium ensued. "We're having an adventure," I announced, injecting a false, thrilling cheer into my voice. "We're going to Nana's for a birthday party." "A party?" Lily squeaked, abandoning her spoon. "Cake? Balloons?" "We'll make it a party," I said, my mind racing. We were a hurricane sweeping through the house. I pulled a half-finished container of chocolate frosting from the pantry, a box of brownie mix. I grabbed the good tablecloth, the one with the embroidered flowers, still folded from Christmas. I threw candles, a lighter, a bundle of paper plates and napkins covered in leftover cartoon dinosaurs into a bag. Mark corralled the kids into coats and shoes, grabbed a blanket, the Bluetooth speaker. "Gifts!" Lily cried. "Nana needs presents." We stood there, breathless. We had nothing wrapped, nothing bought. My eyes swept the living room, the detritus of our love. Noah's latest masterpiece, a chaotic, joyful smear of finger paint on construction paper, was on the fridge. I snatched it. On the bookshelf was a small framed photo of my mother holding Lily as a baby, both of them asleep in a sunbeam. I took it. From my own jewelry box, I hurriedly retrieved a simple silver locket my mother had given me when I turned 16. It felt like a circle closing. I shoved it all into the bag. It wasn't much. It was everything. The drive to her house was 40 minutes in the dark. The kids, hyped on the unexpected adventure, sang songs and played I Spy. The car was warm, smelling of kids and brownie mix. We'd shoved the pan, unbaked, into the oven at 350 degrees as we ran out the door, planning to bake it at Mom's. I stared out the window, watching the streetlights blur into golden streaks, my anxiety slowly melting into a solid, purposeful resolve. We pulled into her driveway. Her house, a modest ranch, looked dark except for the one lamp in the living room window, just as I'd pictured it, a lonely little planet in the quiet night. I took a deep breath, hefted the bags, and marched to the door, my family trailing behind me like a noisy, loving comet. I didn't ring the bell. I turned the knob, it was always unlocked, and pushed it open. "Mom?" I called into the hushed interior. "Surprise!" The scene was exactly as I had imagined, and yet infinitely more painful to witness in its reality. The blue glow of the game show flickered on her glasses. The crossword was in her lap. She looked up, and her face went through a series of transformations. Shock, confusion, and then a dawning, disbelieving joy that made my heart clench. "What in the world?" she breathed, setting her puzzle aside and slowly rising. "Is everything all right?" "Everything's perfect," I said, crossing the room and wrapping her in a hug. She felt small, bird-like, but her hug back was fierce. She smelled of lavender hand cream and the faint, powdery scent of her home. We realized we hadn't properly celebrated the most important woman we know. Lily barreled into her legs. "Happy birthday, Nana! We brought party!" Noah, more reserved, presented his finger painting. "For you." Tears, bright and sudden, filled my mother's eyes. She blinked them back, but one escaped, tracing a path through the fine powder on her cheek. "Oh, my darlings," she whispered, her voice cracking. "You shouldn't have." "We absolutely should have," Mark said, smiling and began unloading our bags. He shook out the good tablecloth and spread it on her old dining table, instantly transforming the room. He fired up the Bluetooth speaker, and the gentle strains of a jazz standard my dad loved filled the silent space, pushing back the gloom. I went to the kitchen, familiar as my own. The brownie mics went into a bowl. "We're baking your cake," I announced, "and you're not allowed to help." She sat at the kitchen table, a queen holding court as Lily and Noah helped me stir. Flour dusted the air, catching the light. Eggs were cracked with monumental concentration. The oven beeped, and the rich, sweet smell of baking chocolate began to weave through the house. A smell of celebration, of childhood, of home. While it baked, we sat with her. Mark poured her a small glass of the sherry she liked but never bought for herself. We talked, not about big things, about small things. Noah explained the intricate plot of his favorite cartoon. Lily demonstrated her new cartwheel. Mom told a story about my father, about the year he tried to bake her a birthday cake and used salt instead of sugar. "We ate it anyway," she said, laughing, a real, free laugh that lit up her whole face. He looked so proud. This was the stuff. This was the fabric. Not the cruise ship buffets, but the failed, salty cakes eaten with love. Not the panoramic ocean views, but the familiar view of your mother's kitchen, the chips in the countertop you'd traced 1,000 times. The brownies were done, gooey and decadent. We slathered them with the frosting, which was a little too sweet and absolutely perfect. We stuck in 80 candles, 4 packs of 20 we'd miraculously found. We turned off all the lights, the jazz music soft in the background. In the dark, the candles were a galaxy of tiny, trembling flames, illuminating my mother's face. The lines of worry, of loneliness, of years of putting others first softened in the golden light. She looked young and old, timeless. We sang. Our voices were off-key, Lily's too loud, Noah's a soft mumble. It was the most beautiful rendition of Happy Birthday I'd ever heard. "Make a wish, Nana," Lily yelled. My mother closed her eyes. A smile played on her lips, serene, certain. She didn't wish for a cruise or a grand gift. I knew, with a daughter's certainty, what she wished for. This right here, this continuity, this noise, this love, messy and present and real. She opened her eyes and blew. Every single candle flickered and died, and we cheered in the sudden, sweet-smelling dark. As Mark cut the brownies and Lily handed out the dinosaur plates, I felt my phone buzz in my pocket. A notification. Another photo from the family fun page. I didn't need to look. I knew what it would be. A perfect sunset, a perfect dinner, a perfect, distant happiness. I took out my phone. I opened the camera. I didn't stage a thing. I captured the scene before me. My mother, a paper crown from a long-ago fast food meal perched crookedly on her silver hair, laughing as Lily fed her a too big bite of brownie. Noah was leaning against her side, a smear of chocolate on his cheek. Mark was in the background, smiling at them, washing the mixing bowl in her sink. The room was a beautiful mess. Wrapping paper scraps, flour on the floor, coats piled on a chair. It was lit by the overhead kitchen light, harsh and real, not a golden sunset. It was utterly, magnificently imperfect. I posted it. Just that one photo. No filter, no clever caption, just a heart emoji. Then I put my phone away, face down, and joined my family. I took my mother's hand, its skin papery and warm, and gave it a squeeze. She squeezed back, her gaze holding mine, saying everything words never could. "You remembered. You came. You are my daughter." The notifications began to buzz, a quiet, insistent hum from the phone on the table. Likes, comments. My sister-in-law, "Aw, looks sweet. Happy birthday." My brother, "Wow, you guys are there? Tell Mom we called earlier." But the one that mattered most came from Aunt Carol. Now that is a birthday. You gave her the world tonight, sweetheart. We didn't break the cruise, we didn't ruin their vacation, but we broke something else. We broke the illusion that celebration requires distance and grandeur. We broke the quiet acceptance of being an asterisk in someone else's highlight reel. We broke the spell of loneliness with the mundane magic of showing up, with brownie mix and finger paintings, and the simple revolutionary act of presence. Later, as we bundled sleepy children into the car, my mother stood in the doorway, wrapped in her cardigan, the light spilling out around her. Her house was no longer a quiet, lonely planet. It was warm, smelling of chocolate and love, buzzing with the happy ghosts of our noise. "Thank you," she said, her voice clear and strong in the cool night air, "for the best birthday a woman could ask for." We drove home through the dark, the children asleep in the back. The social media world would keep spinning, posting its perfect pictures. But we had done something more real, more anchoring. We had woven a new thread into our family's story, a thread of brownie crumbs and laughter in the kitchen light, a thread that said, "You are not alone, you are remembered, you are loved not in the abstract, but in the gloriously messy present tense." And that, I thought, reaching over to take Mark's hand, was a caption that needed no filter at all.